All right, good afternoon. Dan here with Dan's Trades, and welcome back. Market is still open. I will preface this one by saying I apologize for the distraction that might happen here. This is where the market is right now. Today is January 24th, 2024. Today was the second day in a row that my mentor, ICT Michael J. Huddleston, was streaming today. So yesterday he streamed, today he streamed live, and actually attempted to execute some trades with only the 30-second delay that YouTube streaming has incorporated. And with 10,000 plus people following, we saw interesting results. I'll let you be the judge and watch those videos yourself on his channel, but I didn't trade anything yesterday, purely watched it, didn't take anything in his favor, and I didn't trade anything that he was saying today either. These are trades that I was taking while listening to him. Do not recommend it. Turn off people, whether they're your friends, relatives, mentors, trainers, whatever. I will preface this and say your trades need to be your trades. And as a side note, as everybody knows, this channel is about education and entertainment. Maybe or maybe not you get entertained. We'll see. Who knows? But definitely not financial advice, not a financial advisor, all those good things. Just reviewing again what I did. So markets are at all-time highs. We've hit it on both the S&P and the NASDAQ and the Dow. I believe all three are at all-time highs forever. Everyone tries to call tops, tries to short the top. I remember I used to think that way too, where, hey, it's got to reverse. It's, everything is so overpriced, it's not even funny, where I completely understand it, but if you try and trade that way, it's not going to be easy. And today was not easy trading, that's for sure. Yesterday wasn't easy trading watching it, but it's just a matter of understanding price action the more seat time you get. So I'd take a few short scalps as we opened up and we had a large gap on regular trading hours that we were looking to fill in. So that's the only reason I was scalping short this morning, was looking to take advantage of that, fill the gap from the overnight trading activity. So we'll take a look at here. This is a 30-second chart. I didn't trade on a 30-second chart, but it's easier for me to look at it in hindsight to see where the trades line up. So we see here the very first imbalance that we had was a 30-second bearish fair value gap, which was quickly filled. I didn't draw that across, so I just left it over there. But that was my initial thoughts, was, okay, we are moving lower. We created some imbalances / inefficiencies with the form of the SIBIs here. Sell side imbalance, buy side inefficiency, and continued down, made a low. This blue line was a previous 15-minute low. That's what that was initially targeting. So we do see that was hit. So sell side liquidity was swept. Price came back up. And in doing so, we had a volume imbalance, which is the tiny bluish / teal, whatever color you want to call that. So I knew price had to return to that and fill that in, which it did. On the way down here, created this SIBI, and we extended this over. So these are my trade ideas as I'm listening to ICT talk. I scalped one in here, and the theory I had on my stop loss on this very first trade was I took the halfway point of this up close candle, which I was reading, whether it was accurate or not, as a bearish order block. And my stop was mean threshold, or halfway of the high and the low. I have seen different things where he puts mean threshold on the body. That was obviously about where I entered, so I couldn't have a stop right here. So I did mean threshold of this entire candle, which was this blue line here, which is exactly what stopped me out on my first trade. So I was short, came down, came right back up, and stopped me out. So first trade was a loss. Re-entered the second trade. As we saw, that was definitely a stop run, because we just wicked way high and then closed lower. So we still closed below this fair value gap. So I was still bearish in my trade idea. So trade idea one, and my target is down here, taking out these relative equal lows. Left these three candles just nicely looking at us. Two candles on a 1 minute chart. So these were perfect looking targets. After sweeping on this one, we did create more relative equal lows. So that was my idea. So second trade entry got in here. I set a larger stop, did not base it on this candle anymore, but I based it on this fair value gap itself, which I probably should have done the first time around. So here's the depiction of our second trade. Stop is above this wick. because this candle, and this candle created the fair value gap. So I set my stop above that, or right at it, and that actually paid off. So first entry, and this was a market order, which we all know that I hate. But the more I get better, the more I try to use limit orders. So I actually set a second order, and I said if it comes back up to consequent encroachment, I'm going to get a second trade in, or possibly even closing the fair value gap. So right as this candle closed, I entered that limit, and if I hold the mouse over, you'll see the red X right there. So my second entry was at the top of this fair value gap. So I was trying to make my position better. Since I know this first trade filled way down here being a market order, I put a limit order up here. So this is about halfway, and that's where our trade was. So my idea again was take out these lows. So I was targeting that while listening to ICT's live stream. I saw this nice move down. I was listening to some at the time. I just said, hey, I'm in profits. I probably shouldn't be trading while I'm listening. So I took the trade off early. Covered right here, buying 17,658. You see right there in the middle of that. This fair value gap was not formed upon closing this trade out, obviously, because this candle wasn't even done yet. So trade was off there. So I'd recouped my loss from the first one. Now I was in profits a little bit, and I continued to listen. So I watched this fair value gap form right after I was out of my trade. Again, seeing I didn't make my target, but this is what I'm looking at the time. And drag that back over where it was. Set the third entry, now a limit order, right on consequent encroachment of this fair value gap. Anticipating, market maker sell models where we have first move down, accumulation, then looking for the second leg down to sweep these ultimate lows and continue lower. That was my idea. But then the market had other ideas. So there's where fair value gap was formed, entry was placed. So my stop should have been up here. Let's see where I was stopped out. If I hold the mouse over, it looks like I incorrectly set my stop right where the plan is here at the top of this bar. So I made a mistake on this one and looked at it. Then again, I'm not trading on the 30-second chart, I'm trading on the 1-minute chart. So the value, let me pause this for a second. Let me switch this chart back over to 1 minute so it makes more sense for me. Okay, we flipped her over to a 1 minute, and to be completely honest with myself, I don't know why the stop was here outside of, I was not paying attention. I just saw, yeah, we're not going to go lower. And I closed off the trade right there, and I just set this profit at it. So had I set this properly, I would have had a worse loss. So hindsight is I saved some money on my combine account by trading improperly. But entry was at the consequent encroachment. Stop should be above here. So the stop should have been on this candle close, but I was actually stopped out right here. So just saved a few ticks, whatever, no big deal. So one loss, one win. The win was 2 contracts, so I more than made up that in some. And then I had another quick stop out. So I was still in profits. Scalped one more time on a big run up. Saw a tiny volume imbalance. So I knew price was going to need to return to this sooner or later. I was hoping it would be sooner, and it wasn't. So I scalped 2 in and quickly closed and covered them. Both here we see 17,676, and the entries were 81 and 78. So 76, 76. So ultimately that was a profitable but tiny scalp. Knowing, hey, I've already had 1, 2, 3 trades in, I should probably be done. I'm listening, learning all at the same time. Yes, it's in the combine, it's not live funds, but it's going to lead to live funds because we'll see where I'm at the end of this. No more trades in NQ. And I think this is where ICT was figuring out, hey, I put a stop out there and 10,000 people are following, and the market is going to seek liquidity where it is. And so that was kind of trading. So if there's any way, Michael, you hear this, please don't live stream anymore and trade and show people where they are, because that I 100% saw it, and I believe it, that you affect the market if people know where your stops are, because so many people follow you. They will create and engineer more liquidity, and the market will take out those stops. So please don't live trade. As much as people would love to follow, it just doesn't work. So that was the NQ. Let me pause, or I don't even have to pause. I'll just flip this guy over to ES. I did take a couple scalps on ES. I should say one. Let's set this guy up. There was one quick scalp. Bought it at 49.18. Got out at 49.19. I don't honestly remember that. I remember this one more over here, which is why I try and record, so I'm going to have to go back and look at that for myself. But quick scalp there, I saw, we came down, swept the lows. Definitely looking like, sell model, buy model, climbing the rocks. So I took one part of that as price was coming back up into this volume imbalance, or excuse me, fair value gap, which was SIBI. Once it closed above, it's an inversion fair value gap, which is what was used over here just after the morning session. So price had rallied up. In between lunch and the AM session, I was anticipating a run up to this area of interest that is from a higher time frame. So this was my trade idea, was this plan right here. Hold the mouse over, I see I got in right there, and then scaled in one time as it returned down to this inversion fair value gap, anticipating it to bounce off, when it absolutely did. I got in it shortly, and you can see it was a market order, so it was a horrible fill up here. Then I rode it through and watched it. These are 1 minute charts again. And knew it was going to turn, but this I think is where he no longer actually placed his stop, and he was only talking about it. So I was happy that he didn't talk about it, because I was taking a similar idea, but there was no trade that he placed, and I watched this happen. And I said, that's plenty. I'm going to go ahead and cover those right here as it was exiting this fair value gap, anticipating to potentially run higher, but I knew we were after the AM session, so I didn't want to stay any longer, overstay my welcome. We do see that I extended this fair value gap out, and it absolutely respected it and priced off of it, and it hit this relative equal highs that I was initially targeting as a partial if we were not to make this higher time frame area of interest, which I see it did not. As you'll hear him say, the trade doesn't have to go there to be profitable, and we see that here, where technically this is kind of a scaling in, dollar cost averaging, which I do not ever recommend unless you have a reason and that price action supports it, as we saw here with this inversion fair value gap, and it was supporting price going higher, which it did, and I was able to take advantage of that and be profitable on the day, which we will see. This is my 150K combine account still. We'll pull up the trading panel, and we see that we are 272.38 in profit. One part I don't understand is it's not showing my NQ trades. Don't know why when I flip from NQ to ES, Tradeovate does not show my filled orders even during the day. It's very weird. So I don't know if it's a artifact of Top Steps Combine and Tradeovate's integration where it only shows the previous ones, or what the deal is. I have no idea. All I know is the profit is above where I started. No more open positions. I always make sure there's nothing working when I close my day out. But yeah, we're at 152.414, so I recouped some of yesterday's, or not yesterday's, but the previous trading days losses. We had one down day, and now we back are on the winning side again. So that was the extent of my trading for today. Scalping purely while listening to my mentor and learning not to do that. So, or how to do it if you're going to do it. So I don't think he's going to be live streaming anymore. He's going to be concentrating on Robbins, blah, blah, blah. That's neither here nor there. But that was the trading day. So hopefully that helps you a little bit. I know it'll help me in reviewing my own stuff. Trade safe. And always remember, tomorrow is not promised. Make sure you live today, guys. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one.